big thing we want to do is grow from this weekend. We had some great crowds out there this weekend, which was really, really good for our fans. It was good quality baseball, which I think is what we need to continue to bring here when you build a stadium like we did, and ask our donors to step up for the capital campaign and then pay the money they're paying. I think we want to constantly bring in good quality baseball here for them. And so Texas was a great opponent. We appreciate Coach Pearson being able to do the home and home for us. It's so tough to get somebody to do a home and home 3-game series today. They want you to go to their place 14 times and they'll come to you once. And so we're really appreciative of them coming here. Having said that, we knew it would be a good test for us right out of the gate, which it was. We feel with that, the first 2 games we were 1 hit away from being able to win both those games. On the other hand, when you really, carve it out, our young arms did throw well. 21 out of the 28 innings, we threw scoreless innings, but 9 of the 15 runs we gave up actually came in 2 innings. So again, baseball's built on momentum. Most all sports is built on momentum. Basketball, guy throws an ill-advised pass, they steal it, they go down and dunk, and then now it's a 22-1 run off of 1 bad pass. So in all our sports, you want to stay away from momentum. Some defensive mistakes we made led to giving them some momentum. In baseball, once you get momentum, you can be the Yankees, and when you don't have momentum, you can be the Bad News Bears. And so what you want to stay away from is if you have momentum, you want to protect it. If you don't have it, you want to seek it out and try to go get it. Because in momentum, it changes everything. You look at the College World Series last year, a foul ball falls in on Arkansas, looks very meaningless, right? But it changed the whole momentum of the College World Series. One fly ball down the right field line. So momentum is everything in our business. We had, some 2 plays in the outfield, the ball got under our glove, and then all of a sudden an inside the ballpark home run, and so they took a lot of momentum into that inning. And then when you give somebody momentum, they start playing with adrenaline, and that's the worst thing you can do. You want to stop a team, a crowd, from being adrenalized. When they get adrenalized, I've always said this, a guy can hit a ball 2 feet off the plate and he's never hit a home run in his life and hit it out of the ballpark, and then you bring him back tomorrow, you take the adrenaline out of it, you take the crowd out of it, take the momentum out of it, you can throw him 1,000 pitches and he won't hit one out of the ballpark. But he did that night because we fed him adrenaline. And that's how the 3-run homer showed up, is that kid walks up there, we gave him adrenaline, and now he gets the ball out of the ballpark. And not taking anything away from it, but adrenaline is what you've got to stay away from. This is also what helps you when you draw the crowds we draw. We appreciate our fans because we got to learn how to harness that adrenaline. I think the LSU baseball team does a great job of that through the history of their program, of being able to feed off the adrenaline. And when they get adrenalized, they can get in some big innings on you. And we led both innings. One was a 4-run inning, one was a 5-run inning. It took us too long to calm back down the adrenaline. And in baseball, I've told you this before, the number one thing we try to stay away from as pitching staff is a 3-run inning. In Game 1, we didn't give up a 3-run inning. Game 2 and Game 3, we did. So we've got to work to get rid of the 3-run inning. How do you do that? You get rid of walks, pass balls, hit batters, errors. It's very hard. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but it's very hard to get a 3-run inning in baseball by just getting hits, even at the big league level. Very hard. If you do the study, it's very hard. They need a walk. They need a hit batter. The first inning, where the big inning started, was a 2-out walk, and it led to 4 or 5 runs with 2 outs, all over that meaningless walk. And so we got to continue to grow that. But again, overall, I think our pitchers threw, the young ones threw very well in a, you don't want to say a hostile environment because it was our fans, but it's a different environment. They come, some of them from JC's, where they had 30 people in the stands and you can hear everybody talking to what they saw this weekend. And that's a different type thing when somebody wraps that many people around you. So some of these kids were pitching at high schools where there was 125 people in the stands, and now they're out there pitching against Texas in the surroundings they were in. So, and all of them threw very well. We gave them bits and pieces. We didn't let any of them stay in too long. that's the way I feel you got to handle freshmen for a while until they can grow and handle their surroundings. Offensively, I thought as we got back on the plan, you know, the Friday and Saturday night, we had some guys splinter off and kind of go back, you know, doing some things that I thought we needed to get back on. They got back on the plan on Sunday, and they stayed on the plan throughout the game, and the benefit was, you know, run production. So I think you know, those things, we know where we're at a little bit more to position players. The pitching is still going to be moving in and out until we can sync this up until we get to conference. But again, overall, our three crowds were very, very large, and we thank our fans for that because, again, no player comes to play here with nobody in the stands. They'll all tell you that. And to be able to play in front of those many people and passionate people was just really, really fun. I'm glad that we handled it. Are we glad because we got one win? No, the standard of this program is not one win on Sunday and us jump up and down and hold hands because we won one game against Texas. We needed to get the big hit on Friday and Saturday. We needed to do some things Friday and Saturday to where we had 3 wins instead of 1 win. But having said that, with such young pitching, I thought they held their own real good. We just got to, again, stay focused to stay off the 3-run inning and then make sure that we don't give people momentum and false hope. The big inning that started the other night came from a ground ball that we threw away at first base. This is how those innings start. They give somebody false hope. They're down 8-1, and then you start to give them some hope. And then all of a sudden the ball goes underneath the guy's glove, and so now you're getting free bases. See, in our business, the more free bases you give up, the less hits it takes to score runs. And that's a bad mixture. You want people to earn everything they get in our business and make them have to hit. Having to hit, they're failing at a 70% rate. So you've got some good odds on your side. When you give them free bases and you let a guy go first to third or home to third on a single, it's not good. He picked up 2 extra bases free, and they never burn an out to get him to third. So now he gets to score on an out, and that's hard to protect. If you're going to let people score runs on outs, that's not good. The outs are designed to get the game over. Our game's unique from everybody else's. It has no clock. You cannot stall. Can't pass the ball around. Can't hold it on the mound. I mean, you got to deliver it in 20 seconds now. So there's no stalling in baseball. They're going to get their outs. And so the quicker you can get their outs, the quicker you can defend them. And so every time you have an error, hit batter, walk, you're not getting an out. And that's not a good mixture in our business. So, but overall, I thought we handled some things. Now we got to head on the road. Our game Tuesday is going to be probably rained out, so now it's moved to Wednesday. These guys scored 40 runs this weekend, so they swing the bat real well. A lot of these guys are Coach Wells' hitters from when he was still at Louisiana Tech. So they scored 40 runs this weekend, but they gave up 27. But Southeastern's pitching coach took another job. So that's probably the reason for high runs. But a lot of people are dealing with a lot of young pitching or young hitting. You always are. You look at South Alabama this weekend. In their first 2 games, they walked 20 people. So that's what happens when you have some young arms or some changeover and some things. It takes a while to let things settle down. Opening day for me is hard to read. I don't think you should read a lot into opening day because in our business, you know, it's a 56-game schedule. At the big league level is 162. So it takes a long time. I think the numbers will start to mean something later in the season, but opening weekend, I just think you got to be careful. We are going on the road with, again, young pitchers again in a ballpark that the ball travels and a good hitting team. So, again, another good test for us. Then we'll pull out on Thursday and head to Sam Houston and fight another guy that's a good hitting coach, and that's going to put good hitters at the plate. Different type style of hitting that can chase freshmen out of the strike zone. So it's going to be another good test for our freshmen. So the more we can just keep weathering these arms, you know, and stay off results and just stay on the process of trying to grow them up by the time we hit conference, we don't want to say we have young pitchers by the time we get to conference. I mean, I know they're still freshmen, but we don't want to use that word anymore. We've got to continue to grow them and get them weathered. So questions you might have from the weekend.
Speaking of the young arms, you made reference before to like the Leger, Marks, Guillory freshman season, but how is the development different since those guys, as I remember, were basically starters from the get-go as opposed to these guys working out of the pen for the most part?
Well, the difference is they both have their issues. A starter has to be able to start the game pitching out according to the game plan. But then as he gets to the middle innings, he's got to be able to reverse pitch. So he's got to be able to do something different than he's been doing in innings 1 through 3. Freshmen have a very hard time learning how to do that because in high school they had a 7-inning game, and by the way they started the game pitching, they just pitched that away for 7 innings. You cannot do that at this level. Cannot. The hitting coach is too good. You got people in charts. You got TV. They're stealing signs today at an all-time rate because of TV. Everything's streamed. They're in the middle of the catcher's legs. I mean, there's so much being stolen today in baseball that it's unbelievable. They're also preparing for you better because of analytics today. They know what you throw it in 2-0 counts and 2-1 counts and 1-2 counts and everything else. So there's no way a freshman can pitch the same way. Gunnar has the ability to start pitching you one way, and if you start to make an adjustment when he senses feels it, he can change. But, man, that didn't happen his freshman year. I mean, in fact, his sophomore year, it usually hits you your sophomore year because they don't know you your freshman year because they haven't seen a lot of film on you. But after that, you have to make adjustments. So starters – the big challenge with starters is to get past the 5th inning. If you look, Brandon Young didn't get past the 2nd, okay? He's coming straight out of a JC. Gunnar got deep and would have stayed out there if we weren't on his pitch count. So he would have got past the 5th, and that's your salt as a starter, is past the 5th. And then you look at Harton, he was going to get past the 5th. He could have got it, but he was 8-0 as a freshman at TCU. So he's already learned how to do that, right? The relievers' challenge is when they come into the game, stuff's hit the fan. So there's disarray, there's momentum. He's battling momentum. He's battling a lot of things, traffic, runners everywhere. So these guys have to be able to be really good. The onus on a good reliever, if you watch it, he gets the first guy out he faces. That's usually what calms an inning down, is getting the first guy out your face. If you fail to get the first guy out your face, it keeps the momentum going. And so certain guys are just good at flipping momentum. And some, they throw gasoline on the fire. They hit the first batter, they walk the first batter. So you got to figure out through putting them in that fire and in that traffic who can turn things around. You look at Bradford, hung a slider the first time out of a JC, but then he comes back and he's able, with traffic everywhere, to be able to finish that last hitter to win the game. The weather changed. He was dealing with a wet mound. You were also dealing with a wind blowing out. So now your head's starting to tell you, if I hang one pitch, it can get out of here with the wind. So now they get a chance to have a grand slam right there. So there's a lot that has to happen for relievers, and the more they in it, the better they get at doing it. That's why we have to just keep them coming out and getting in it, and then try to then line all that up. Okay, who's going to start, who is going to be the relievers, and that kind of thing. And that's what we're kind of playing around with right now.
It's maybe a little bit different because you just faced Texas, but you spoke about before that the midweek games early on are just as good, if not better, than the weekend games. So how important is it playing a quality team like Louisiana Tech on the road and being able to get a win?
Well, first of all, parity in baseball today is enormous. I mean, I've always said this: you don't have to drive very far up by 10 to get your rear end whipped. I mean, used to, not a lot of people cared about baseball. So you had the haves and you had the have-nots. You had the people that did care and you had the people that didn't care. Today, the coaching in baseball is good. The assistant coaches from bigger universities are busting off and getting into other mid-major programs around the country, and they're bringing a high level of analytics. They're bringing a high level of coaching into those programs, and then a high level of recruiting. Some coaches have taken one coach, and he's staying on the road 24 hours in recruiting. I mean, baseball is changing. It's evolving, and because of that, I think night in and night out, you're gonna have to perform. I mean, these guys scored 40 runs in a weekend off Southeastern. Southeastern's not a bad baseball team, right? And so you know, there's more hitting coaches that are worth their salt, that are getting out with analytics. So much is getting better because when you can put that kid on the videotape stuff that's out there today and change his fastball a little bit because you can see the axis of the pitch now. We used to not be able to see that. A hitter make a minor adjustment that you couldn't see anymore. I mean, because you were seeing just with your eyes. I think our eyes see things at 25 frames per second. I mean, the cameras today are like 500 frames per second. I mean, you're getting a totally different look at stuff that happens in milliseconds that you never really could ever see. And so because of that information floating all over the place, teams are getting better. I mean, they were pulling some shifts on us. Look, back when we had the regional here against Arizona, I mean, those guys were full analytics. I mean, they were shifting already on us. I don't know how many balls we hit back right over the second base bag that had been hits. Their guy was right there almost every time. Where'd he get those numbers, you know, to be able to know that, hey, I need to move here and I need to move here. So because so much is on TV today, you can pull off everybody's at bats, and over time, you start to see that Castles might hit this there, he might hit this over here, and so you're going to start seeing more and more shifting in the college baseball level too, because of analytics. So I think everybody's good today. I mean, there's no more haves and have-nots. I mean, there's just everybody's working on baseball, and because of that, you got to get out and play night in and night out. And with the RPI, you know, used to, because I'm in this for 25, 26 years, 31 total. I've seen the game evolve, and look, there was a time that even your fans knew that we're going to come during the week to see the young players play. And your fans accepted that this was developmental Wednesday or developmental Tuesday, and we're going to see the young kids, and development's going to be ugly, and RPI doesn't matter because we didn't have RPI. And so what you did on the weekdays is you developed your club to get ready on the weekends when conference started. Today, I mean, with RPI, I think, you know, we're leading to more Tommy Johns. I mean, I think more arm injuries, because what we're doing is we never have a day off. I mean, Wednesday night's not a night to develop. I mean, it's just not. And then you got RPI to deal with. So you know what you want to do? You want to pull weekend relief pitchers, you know, into the game to try to win. And I think that's a bad mix for arms. And yet we got a limited roster. Think about that for a minute, right? You got Tommy John at an all-time high in this country, but yet we limit in our rosters on how many pitchers we can carry. I just don't think that makes sense. Then you tell us to bring in our pitchers on the 25th of January and have them ready for February 15th. First of all, that can't even really happen number-wise if you know how to handle a pitcher, right? So now do you force people to cheat? I mean, how do you get that arm ready? You got to hope over the Christmas break he's doing what he's doing. But what if he's in a cold weather state that he can't even get outside to stay ready? So that's the toughest part I think that's evolved with baseball, is that every game is a conference game, because you will play some midweek games that the RPIs are better than your own conference weekend. I mean, I've had fans before tell me, you know, we ought to, you know, this weekend the RPI is so bad in conference, you ought to try to win the games in the middle of the week with your weekend starters, you know. I mean, so that's how so many people are ingrained in RPI. But man, when you start taking Gunner and say, hey, look, we're not going to start you this weekend against so-and-so, we're going to move you up so you can try to beat LSU, but then we're going to put you back on next weekend. You start messing with your arms like that, and the time that they have to get off their soreness and get back on their routines, man, you can get into a lot of trouble. So I know it's a long answer, but there's no more. Every game's an RPI game. Every game's a conference game to us now because of RPI.
On that note, do you feel like you have a structure to your bullpen that you want now? I know early in the season you got to get that figured out, but do you feel like that's still a process, or how are you with that?
We're still on that process. We still got some guys that we haven't thrown. You know, Michael Lamont didn't get in this weekend. Armstrong, who throws underneath out of the pen, didn't get in. I mean, Cox came in to face one lefty. We lost him, and he had to come back out because that's all his role was to try to get that lefty. So we still have another lefty in Savoy that can come out of the pen that was redshirted last year. B. Schultz, our other Schultz, his dad had passed away just a week ago, so we're kind of making sure that he's okay, but he's a guy that can come out of the bullpen for us too. So we've got some guys that didn't throw this weekend that will need to throw too. So it is still a work in progress. We do feel we have good arms that just young, and I think what we're going to have to do is just keep bringing them in and out, seeing how we want to do it. Do we want to mix and match? The biggest challenge, you know, with mixing and matching is we're not the big leagues. Like the big leagues have a lefty that's got some kind of freak pitch. He's throwing 97. And he's coming in to get two lefties in a row. That's what they're paid to do. But you got to be careful in college sometimes is you can start mixing and matching, but if you watch them, they brought a lefty in one time and walked the lefty. And, I mean, you got to be real careful. It looks good on paper, you know. Why'd you let the righty face the lefty? But at the end of the day, sometimes that works, and then sometimes I think you have a fine line between what's the college game, what's the pro game? Can that guy really come out and bury that lefty? You know, we brought him out, we walked him. So that's the biggest challenge. And, you know, and in the big leagues, they understand their role. Like they'll walk out, they know they got to get that left. If they walk him, they give the ball back up to the manager, even though they don't like to give it to him. In college, you get somebody to go, oh man, that's cruel, a coach right there. Man, you don't let that guy throw one batter. Well, he was coming in to get that one batter. That was his role, you know. It's like Lasorda one time. He brought in a lefty to get a lefty, and he jammed him really bad, and the ball falls in for a base hit. So he comes out there to get the ball from him because the next guy's a righty, so he don't want to come off the mound because he jammed him. He didn't even hit it hard. So Lasorda says, look, I'm gonna do me a favor. He said, I'll make you a deal. He said, I want you to peek over there at first base. If there's a guy standing at first base, you give me the ball. If there's nobody standing there, you get to stay in the game. I mean, he was in there to get one guy out. That's your job. So when you start to mix and match, we're going to have the ability to do it, I think, because we have more lefties coming out of the pen than we've ever had. The challenge is we got to get good at doing it, and they got to get good at, if we're going to do it, to be professional enough to know I'm only going in to get this one guy. I got to get him. I got to bury him. And if I don't, I understand coaches coming back out and getting the ball from me, because that's what happens when you mix and match, is you're going to use a lot of arms. So we're still in a process, and I think it's going to take us a little while, more than just opening day, before we'll be able to just line all this out.
With all of those, though, you seem like you have a lot of options in the bullpen. Can you properly evaluate all those guys by the start of conference play to know any kind of I got a 6-inning guy, 7-inning guy, 8-inning guy?
That's the challenge.
That's going to be difficult to do with all these options.
That's the challenge. We have a lot of good arms, and that's why we're going to try to, you know, with the midweek, the 3-game series this weekend and stuff, keep trying to, you know, get some guys in there. Some guys were a little behind coming out of the fall, but then got moved back up ahead when they got back from the spring. They usually make a big jump after they get back from the fall. So some guys have started making moves. We have some guys that have really good changeups, and we have some guys that have really good curveballs. So, you know, this is where we might be able to start mixing and matching before this is over, after we ID what each one of them have. This weekend, the most successful people against Texas were the people that could add and subtract and stay in one tunnel. I mean, Harton might have threw one curveball. Perrin might have thrown one curveball, and Gunnar might have thrown no curveballs. It was just stay in the tunnel with a fastball and a changeup. But then we've started to run out of the lefties that were fastball changeup guys. So that's the difference too. Sometimes when somebody says, you know, well, they don't know who they pitching. No, like Sunday, what we wanted to do was we wanted to ID them, because sometimes when you don't have maybe that lockdown starter yet, and you don't know, then why don't you see what they're vulnerable to, and then see how many guys you've got like that, you know? If, say, a team can't hit a slider, well, then you'd want to move up all your slider guys that weekend. So we've got some stuff that we can do, but we haven't coached like that either for a long time, because usually we had some frontline arms and one or two frontline closers, and that was kind of it. Now, what I think is because we had that changeover of so many new people, that I think we're just going to have to keep running them in and out there, get it lined up once we see what they have and who can do what. So I think it's a work in progress right now.
One more.
With all that, yeah, with all that said, do you bullpen it, or do you?
Yes.
Is it a weekend rotation audition?
No, I think like the midweeks for right now, like Wednesday, you might see the 2 and the 2 and the 1 and the 2 and the 1, you know. Even on the weekends, you know, depending on where we get with starters. If we got Friday and Saturday, I mean, if we go pairing, we could be all left-handed starters, you know, before this is over. So I stacked pairing in behind, because all the TV we watched, we felt that the plus minus was really good for us, and so I stuck him behind Gunner, trying to go get game one. I thought with those two arms, you know, in Bradford, we could take game one, and, you know, it was right there, you know. And then game two, we didn't know, wasn't going to be the greatest matchup, because more of a power arm versus a, you know, the changeup arm. And that's why as soon as, of course, he had 2 outs. I think if he gets that last guy out, maybe he goes a little further. We let the ball under our glove, and all of a sudden he dealt with a lot of momentum and couldn't get out. And that's why I went ahead and sat him and brought Batty back out, because what they had struggled against was, again, you know, plus minus off the left side. So we brought Batty in from there, and then we knew we were going to bullpen it from there. So, yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of bullpen stuff.
All right, thanks, guys. Do you know who will start tomorrow?
Huh?
Do you know who will start on Wednesday?
Not yet. Now that it's pushed back a day, it might change what our thoughts are. So on Mondays, what we do, because we can't be with them, it's their day off. And I know it frustrates y'all on Mondays, never having an answer, but we can't be with them. So they have to go through a certain protocol of checking their soreness, checking in with the trainers, getting through their Fusionetics and Sparta and stuff. And then from there, we try to get a better feel the next day on the soreness factor, and then we can line it out for you and give it to you.